Hey guys, the Duel is here. Assetto Corsa has distinct special events, which features 203 events with various car, track and type of event combos, like drifting in Ferraris to racing old Fiats around all Monza and stuff like that, basically anything you can think of. And many of you might not know, but on my main channel I do platinum trophy hunting, and Assetto Corsa has one too. The Ultimate Edition has all DLCs, which means there is more stuff to do in order to get the trophies, and it has only 35 platinum achievers. So I wanna get this platinum and decided why not to show you my experience here, cause these events are really fun and challenging. I like to do these events car by car, so it is less time adjusting to a new car each time. This time I'm doing the McLaren P1, which almost ended up being a modern death machine. Two of these events are in Nordschleife, which sounds fun until you realize you're driving a 903 horsepower hypercar with barely any downforce. The first event is a hot lap, forbidden record, talking about the amazing time McLaren P1 LM set back in 2017 of a 6 minutes 43.2, which was the record for the fastest production car around the Nordschleife until the Mercedes AMG 1 destroyed that time last year. The game doesn't have the LM, so I'm driving the stock P1, and for compensation I need to go 10 seconds slower to get the gold medal. Now I am not a big setup guy, I barely understand how to set up a car properly, so I just lowered the tire pressures and that's pretty much it. Now beginning of my outlap, I realized that this car has DRS and also a hybrid system, so it is pretty much a Formula 1 car just without downforce, literally. This car feels actually really nice, like it can carry some speed, but it does tend to oversteer, and the other thing it really tends to do is fly. Like this car really jumps a lot, it just moves a lot wherever there's a bump. Could be setup related, I don't know, but this car is really unstable on high speed bumps, and as I will later find out, this will be a massive problem on many of my laps. Now going downhill after the hairpin, this is probably one of the scariest sections of the racetrack in this car, because the car is just moving so much, and on my outlap this actually ended up being my first crash. Even though I was supposed to take it slowly, I still managed to crash, and after that I learned that this car is also really sensitive on the throttle and I have to be really careful or upshift early. And now going on the straight that goes uphill, again I realized that this car on bumps, the front lifts and pretty much I lose the control of the car, and the car understeers into the wall multiple times. So this wasn't ideal, but this was good practice, understanding the car, how it behaves. And going towards the end of the lap, I learned that this car, I mean, just look at this section, like towards the end of the lap, just the car moves so much, I have to put so many steering inputs just to control the car and not make it go into the wall. Going onto the Kleines Carousel, I also realized that this car, again, is just really unstable if you go just a little bit too fast. And the beginning of my first push lap, going into T1, I brake a bit too deep, but it's fine, it's just my first lap, so again, it's still like a practice. Actually went onto the grass here. It's still a practice session basically. And yeah, just going too deep, and I'm just testing the limits of the car because that's the only way how to do it. Second push lap. This time didn't brake too deep. Going into this little S section, going fairly decent. Going uphill, getting massive airtime. This definitely feels scary going full speed because, well, you might not know will the car land or not. But apart from that, this lap was pretty clean, being a little bit aggressive in some parts, but early upshifts helped. Now here, I went a bit too deep into the corner, got into the curb, which gave me some minor oversteer, which is controllable thankfully, but the car is really sensitive on curbs and on bumps, which is not ideal because if you wanna be fast on the Nordschleife, you have to go through them full speed. Now fairly clean to the carousel, getting a sector time of 4 minutes 6, which is decent, fairly fast, and going towards now this section. This is pretty much where you can gain a lot of time or you can lose all your time. And here I clipped the inside cable a little bit too much. The car just went in the air, unstable, and yeah, I tried to save it, but it was unsuccessful. The car was just going too fast. Lap 3. Again, braking a bit too deep into the first corner. I mean, that's a massive mistake just from the start, but it's a long lap. Going into the hairpin, braking fairly decent, going onto the throttle, and the car just understeered into the barrier. On lap 4, just clipped the wrong curb. The car just was sent into the air and yeah, I spun. Now my next crash happened even before even starting the lap. Now on this lap, I think it's the 5th lap or whatever. Good lap actually, going through Carousel. Setting a 4 minute 4.7 sector time, which is really fast. It's basically a second faster than the one that I set before on my previous lap. Here just going a little bit on the curb, but thankfully the car wasn't going that fast, so I was able to save it. And going through this really fun section, I mean, this is just joy. Like, I love this Nürburgring section. It is absolutely amazing, but also super scary. If you go just a little bit too deep or just go onto the curb too much, you will die. The car will just go into the wall instantly. Going to the YouTube corner, didn't bend it, that's good. But here, just, yeah, avoiding the curbs, because I'm just scared going onto the curbs, because they might send the car. Here, over the jump, everything's fine, the car feels stable. Now through this section where I last crashed, everything's fine. Again, just look how much the car just is in the air, and just it's really hard to control it when you don't know when the car will actually land on the ground. So you really have to turn when the car is in the air and just hope. Some oversteer on the curb, again, just being aggressive, but this looks like a good lap. I have a minute left basically to set the time. Just some oversteer on the exit, but everything's fine. The car is really fast on the straight, so wheels should be fine, but here, yeah, I went too deep into one of the last corners before the back straight, and that was really unfortunate. Like, I felt really sad. I went on to finish this lap actually, and actually I learned that you can't really even go like full beans on the straight because you will understeer into the grass, so I guess that was also a good practice for a later run. But going on to the end of the lap, actually it was a 6 minute 52 flat, which would have been fast enough to get a gold medal, even though I crashed. So I knew that I can be fast and I can easily get this gold medal, I just have to be clean. And that's not what I do for the next laps. I go wide, then on my next attempt, I just go a little bit too deep. Again, same place, trying to control the car, but unsuccessful. Then again, not even before the start, just spinning already, great start. And this time, understeering again. This car is actually really predictable. On high speed, you will pretty much understeer or fly, and under acceleration, it's oversteer. So, sounds difficult, but it's not too bad. You just have to be good at it, and clearly I was not. But this actually ended up being my fastest attempt, which actually got me the medal. I don't know these corners on the Nordschleife, so I'm not even gonna try to do a commentary, just enjoy the car sounds. And I did make a few mistakes, but it was still a good enough lap to get the gold medal. So enjoy. Anyways, now I want to do the Hypercar Battle event, which was pretty much Hypercar battles of a McLaren P1 versus Ferrari. There are 4 cars, so the AI is fairly decent, but they're not the fastest ones. And as you can see, going after my hot laps, I brake a little bit later than the AI and I just crashed into them, which will show that I was faster than the AI, but it is really impossible to overtake on this track cleanly. Going on down this little straight, I just went a little bit too aggressive on the throttle, unsettled the car and into the wall. On my second attempt, crashing into the AI because they're braking much earlier than I'm used to, so I really got to just, and yeah, through going through the S sections, I mean, you can just see how much time I'm gaining to the AI. I'm rapid, much more faster than them, but as it is with the Nordschleife, it is really hard to overtake here. Going through this jump, all cars jump, actually one of the McLarens go wide and almost took me out. Thankfully he managed to keep the car away from me, but that's one position gain and that was pretty decent. Going onto this downhill straight, the Ferrari for some reason brakes. I guess that's just how the AI is programmed, and I make this absolutely insane send around the outside, and it's a really clean move actually. Most importantly, I didn't crash neither me or him out. Now going to this downhill section, I brake much later and just look how much time I'm getting from the AI. It's absolutely insane how slower the AI is in some parts of the track. And here I brake a bit later and yeah, accidentally made this dive bomb, which thankfully the AI moved out of the way, and actually this was a clean overtake. And pretty much over this lap, I built quite a big gap, especially going after the Carousel section. I was pretty fast, yeah, and as you can see the rear mirror, I built quite a big gap in the AI. And going onto the back straight, I lift just to be safe, and the AI just sent full beans and actually pretty much ate all the gap that I had built just from before in the S sections and going through the YouTube corners, whatever like that. Whatever you want to call these corners, because I do not know the names of them, okay? And going on to the second and the final lap of the race, they're fairly close, but I still have a few second gap from them. And going towards the Carousel, pretty much nothing really changed. I just had a pretty decent gap to them, and it seemed like it was gonna be quite an easy victory. Only on my second attempt, which, hey, that doesn't sound too bad actually. But I make a mistake. Yeah, I go a bit wide, I mean, again, the understeer, and that destroyed my race, which basically made me kinda be a bit angry at that. And here, getting an amazing start, perfect start. On my next attempt, a decent start, didn't get any positions. The Ferrari goes a bit wide, and he goes wide, and yeah, we crashed again. And this was pretty much the story of the next few attempts. After this such a close attempt of actually winning, I became really angry, really aggressive, and that caused quite a lot of collisions. Thankfully, it was against AI and not other people. Here crashed again with the McLaren, and guess what happened next? More crashes. And more crashes. And yes, even more crashes. Eventually I took a break just to clear my head, and this definitely helped because I was crashing a little bit less, but still crashing. But this was actually the attempt that got me the victory. Got a free position because one of the Ferraris went wide here. Both Ferraris, well, the McLaren and the Ferrari began fighting. The Ferrari went wide onto the grass, which definitely made me catch up with them much faster. And now going onto this amazing back hill straight. I mean, this was probably one of the best moves I've ever done. I mean, look how the car was unstable. It was basically almost in the air while I was overtaking him, and this was a super nice and clean move. Now going to this downhill braking section, just gaining quite a lot of time to the McLaren, and I can definitely set up a move going probably onto the uphill straight. Now going here, brake a little bit too late, but it's fine, it's still working. And going onto this uphill straight, yeah, it was quite an easy overtake. I had my DRS on, and it was a clean move. And going on the back straight, pretty much everything was clean. And on the second lap, I actually pulled quite a big gap to them, and everything was going really nice until I was caught by the same curb again, and I crashed. Thankfully I had a big gap and I managed to rejoin fairly fast and didn't lose a position, but now I am under pressure from the McLaren, and going on the back straight, the McLaren will be definitely a massive threat because slipstream is quite powerful, and we can never forget about the Ferraris, which they are still fairly close to us. Now, thankfully, going through the Kleines Carousel, I managed to build quite a decent gap, at least be out of the slipstream range. Here I almost went off track, which thankfully I did not, and going onto the back or the main straight or whatever you want to call it, I was pretty much in the clear. And actually I think the McLaren ran out of hybrid energy because it was really slow, and at the end it was actually overtaken by the Ferraris, which will only help me. And now at the end of the lap I'm just tiptoeing, just trying not to crash like the last time I did and get this victory, because I mean I would have done it on my second attempt, but it took me probably like 10-15 more attempts, and thankfully I managed to get the checkered flag in P1 without crashing, and that was the tier 4. And now on to the last event. It's a fairly simple hot lap around Barcelona. I did crash quite a few times while being really aggressive. Because the lap is only like less than 2 minutes, it was quite decent, and this was my fastest lap attempt. Now going into T1, braking at around the 200 meter board, early upshifting, just avoiding oversteer, just trying to stay to the inside line as much as I can. Then open up the steering wheel and go. Now braking here at around this white mark, not sure, just sometimes I just brake by my own intuition, just don't overshoot the corners. Now getting some really nice rotation, early upshift again, opening the DRS, and yeah, just so far a neat and tidy lap, everything seems good. Now going onto the back straight, a slight braking, get the turning point, now full on the throttle, open the DRS, and we're off. Now here braking at around 150 board, I think, something like that. Get a nice rotation, early upshift again, just not to spin the car, get this curb. Now again, stick to the inside line, be careful on the throttle not to get some oversteer and or run wide, and so far it looks good. Again, brake here. I did make a mistake, hit the curb here, but it was fine. The car was still under control. Now here getting the nice rotation, everything's nice, so some lift. And now we'll go to the finish line, open the DRS, and it's a 150.8, which was actually really fast. Anyways, so this was me racing in this McLaren P1. It was an absolute joy to race this car. You should definitely try these challenges. They were quite challenging, but really fun and rewarding. If you like this video, support the channel, press the like button, subscribe, and see you guys next time.